Thanks for making the journey here and jumping on the SuperLife podcast.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, man.
I actually just listened. I just listened to your YouTube, your poem that blew up. Wow, that was the first time I heard it.
The "You Are Who You've Been Looking For" piece.
That was cool.
Thank you.
Because you had this rhythm, and then pa pa pa, and then it just, and the audience was just like going crazy, and it was beautiful, moving, and you know, it's this concept that can seem easy to pass along the information, easy to have a clip out there talking about, you know, we literally have the kingdom inside of us, the answers inside of us. We are who we have been looking for. And it's a whole nother thing to actually sit and hear those words inside and then do the work, you know? So I think, and then your new book's coming out, Crazy Love. So, I mean, your whole, this is what you're focused on.
Well, I like to say that what drives me is expanding consciousness, like the expansion of human beings. Yeah. And I think the fastest way that we do that is art. I think art and creativity is the most effective, most efficient, and most sustainable path for elevating consciousness. And that mechanism of poetry. So "You Are Who You've Been Looking For people who aren't familiar, was a poem that I got randomly pulled on stage at an event, asked to do a poem. I did the poem, got a standing ovation in front of 1,500 people, and then a recording and edit of that has now gone on to reach more than 250 million people. And I mean, it got 40 million views in the first 48 hours. So overnight, suddenly I had invitations to speak at the Human Rights Foundation and Mind Valley and all of these big stages, and my social media blew up and all of these things. Yeah. And the reason why it went viral is, one, because of the message, which I think is amazing. We all need that message of self-love, and because it's art. Right. If I was on stage just lecturing about self-love and how to love yourself, that's one thing. But to activate the technology of art and creativity, it just does something different for humans.
It's like language falls short sometimes, right? And art and creativity reach further inside of ourselves or something.
Well, I think that, you know, even people listening to us right now, right? They're processing us probably through their prefrontal cortex, unless they're driving in LA traffic. they're processing through that prefrontal cortex. They have a bullshit detector, and they're going, do I agree with what they're saying? Do I not? And then the more things that they agree with, we build rapport. And eventually there's that trust, and which is why your family could say something to you and that cuts deep, and a stranger could say the exact same thing and you don't even notice it. Because once you've built that rapport, you've given them access to your emotional body. And I think art, when you think that you're receiving art, you're giving it permission to make you feel. So it doesn't matter how shut down, closed off someone is. They put on music because of how it makes them feel. They go to a movie because of how they think they're going to feel. And in personal development, we learn that real catalytic change happens with an emotional component. In order to heal, we have to feel. And so art is this permission slip into the way that people actually change.
Yeah, and you know, emotion is movement in motion, right? It moves the energy. It allows things to not be stuck, which pain, shame, trauma seems to stick, which is why I think you're right. I think that the music creativity allows for the emotion to move again. Because I think we don't like stagnant, ultimately, right? So I think, you know, how did you, I mean, it's interesting story, right? Because you were participating, right, in the day,
Right.
and then you were kind of manifesting, you were kind of owning this space of like, hey, I want to do this, like I want to, like,
wow, you know that story. You know that story. Wow.
Like
okay.
And then I love that stuff because I think so much of why isn't that normalized in terms of miracles, serendipity, because we don't realize the power that we have. And I think this is such a great example that you were owning a space of where you wanted to be, and you were in being that then created, from my perspective, the opening for that to happen. Like, was it the next day or 2 days later?
Yeah. I'm surprised that you know this. I love that you know this. And there's so many angles to this, but specifically I was invited so I did an online summit.
Okay.
And I was interviewing some of the guests, and one of the guests, his name was Kyle Cease, and he invited me to his event that he was having at this theater. And I said, sure. So I get seats for me and my partner at the time in the second row. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the stage, and I turn around and it's 2 levels. There's a mezzanine and then the floor level, and there's 1,500 people and it's all full. And I'm looking, and it's as if I'm on stage, right? I can see all the rows behind me, and I go, I could own this space. Yeah. I feel prepared to be on a stage this big. And at the time, I had been touring my poetry with no social media following to audiences of like 15 people, 25 people.
So you're already flinging yourself
I'm
in.
putting myself out there. I went to Australia and I did it in 4 cities, and I lost so much money, but I just, but I just wanted to do this thing.
Investing in yourself.
Exactly. And they did this exercise. Kyle had everyone do this exercise where you would write down in one column what it is that you want. And then in the column next to it, you would say, what's the reason you think you don't yet have it? And one of the things I wanted was to be on bigger stages. And the reason I didn't think I had it was because I didn't have the network of people to give me the opportunity to do that. And then
so it exposed like limiting beliefs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the idea being there's a reason that there's a limiting belief as to why that is preventing you from all the things that you want, right? And so this idea that I didn't have the connections or opportunities. And I went home, and that night I was doing the homework assignment, and I was realizing how silly it was that I was waiting for someone to give me the opportunity to share my gift. And yeah, sure, I want bigger stages. However, really what it came down to is I just wanted to share more. I wanted to share my poetry and my gift. And so what I ended up doing was sending Kyle at the time, because I had his Facebook Messenger, and I sent him the poem. I just sent it to him, and me performing it. And I said, this is a poem about self-love, and I know you're probably super busy, but I think that maybe you would feel good hearing this because you're holding so much for all these people.
Wow.
And then the next morning I go, I don't know if he heard it or whatnot. And he gets on stage and he says, who did the homework last night? And so you have, out of 1,500 people, you have 1,000 people raising their hands, right? And I put my hand up, and he ends up calling on me out of the audience, not having any idea. He can't see. He's got the lights. He's like, oh wait, I know you. But he had no idea when he called me.
Oh, wow.
And I tell him about how I realized I'd been waiting and I'm holding back my gift for someone else to give me the opportunity. And I made a shift, and I said, I'm just going to freely offer my gift. And so I told him, in your messages, you have a poem from me. And he goes, well, do you just want to come on stage and do it? And I think about, and then I did it. I got a standing ovation, and the rest is history. But when I think about that story, I really think about the shift of, one, truly knowing you're ready for the moment. They say luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And when I think about all the preparation, touring, losing money, but being memorized, imagine I didn't have the poem memorized and I'm on stage reading it from a phone. Like, it wouldn't have been the same. Right. So being prepared for the opportunity, but then also not waiting.
Right.
Because ultimately we're here to share our gifts. And if you think that someone else is your permission slip to share your gift, you're going to be waiting a long time.
Right. You're literally putting a stop between you and creation itself.
Mm-hmm.
And God, I don't know about you, but I hate waiting around for anybody. You know, you see the world's problems, you see issues in the world. It's like, I remember a quick story. I was in Kenya, Africa, and these kids didn't have clean water. And I was like, how is it? And I think it was 2010 maybe at the time. I'm like, how is that possible? You know, because when you physically see something, it hits you deep. Like, how is that possible that our human family lets this happen?
Right.
So I started getting involved in clean water projects, and we ended up getting 500,000 kids clean water in the next few years.
Wow.
Because it's like, it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel good to wait around and to put those blocks. So for you, when you saw these limiting beliefs, how did you then, because it takes courage, it takes boldness, it's scary, right? It still is, right? How did you kind of see that and then take some steps to go, I'm going to own this?
I think that when we talk about confidence, when we talk about courage, you can't be brave if you don't feel fear.
Right.
It's inherent in the definition.
Sure.
To be fearless, it doesn't take any courage at all. You're not actually feeling it. And so I think that there are things that we can do to increase our confidence. So be memorized, be practiced, develop your skills, develop your support system, know how to regulate your nervous system. There's a ton of things that build our confidence. And at a certain point, it just tips where you go, I have enough confidence now where I'm going to do that thing. And so when I work with clients, because one of the things I do is coach. I coach professional athletes and actors and exited founders. And one of the things that I'm often working with them on is their transition to the next thing. And I explain to them, you've already had major success in another area. And so what did it take to do that?
Right.
You've been in the Olympics. What did it take to get there? And at what point did you have actual confidence? And did you feel fear before the matches? Yeah, absolutely. You still did. It didn't matter how much you practiced, but you relied on everything that you'd done up until that point. And so whatever your dream is, whatever the fear is or the insecurity, there are practical things that you can do. And I'm not one of those just meditate in a cave until it happens kind of people. I think that manifestation happens through action. That is the 3D element of our reality. And it's still always going to hit a choice point.
Right.
It is going to hit that moment where you take the leap of faith, and it will. You can build up your confidence, but it will never get to a place. I've never seen it where it's fearless,
Right.
ever, for anyone.
You know, it's interesting. I literally, this is just hitting me right now. I met this ex-special forces guy who just retired, 26 years, 5,000 jumps out of an airplane.
Wow.
5,000.
And like low ones too, right?
Low,
Yeah.
high, wingsuits.
Oh,
You're like,
gosh.
holy shit. He was like, and I'm like, and this guy was full of joy, but he had a hell of a transition coming out of doing that.
Yeah.
But this was interesting. This literally just happened the other day. And he said, you know, we're like, geez, 5,000, you haven't got seriously hurt. You're still alive. He goes, you know what the greatest vitality is to guys dying that I see? The instructors. When they lose the fear feeling, every jump, you're so, if you've lost all sense of it's just another jump and you've lost that true tug of butterflies and fear of jumping out of a freaking airplane, that's the danger. So it's exactly what you're saying, because it's like having a different relationship with this thing that's kind of at the other side of the coin. It's kind of has to be there.
Right.
Right. And yet taking that choice, making that action, and in spite of it, rather than the paralysis of total shutdown of fear.
And I think ultimately, what is the fear an indicator of? It's an indicator that you care.
Right.
You care about something, some aspect of it, even if it's just, I don't want to look stupid.
Right.
Like whatever it is, there's something you care about.
Right.
And I often say our enemy right now is not hatred. Our enemy is apathy. The scariest place to be is we were talking about cognitive dissonance before. The scariest place to be is when people hit apathy.
Yeah.
With what I see happening on the planet right now, there are people getting to a point where they go, what can we do? I can't do anything about this. I'd rather just not know. Ignorance is bliss. I don't care. And so even when people are angry, I go, okay, it might be misplaced. Their actions they're taking may not be the actions I'd like to see them taking, but at least they care.
Right.
And I think if we're going to really change things on this planet, people have to keep caring.
100%.
And so that fear, that nervousness is a sign that you care. And I think it's a great inquiry into what is it I care about. But it is a good thing.
I love that. I misidentified and misapplied sometimes with the anger and the fear and everyone else, and often outwardly, right? If you would change that, I'm going to be better. It's the same thing, only, and, for me, not that we're going to dive into all of what's going on in the world right
I thought
now.
that's why we're here, bro. I thought that's it. We're going to solve all the world's problems. That's why we're doing this.
I think for me, it's good to be aware of what's going on, at least, question mark whether we're receiving all of the information or not. But that aside, for me, as I go into the creation of like, okay, what can we do? What can we build? How can we increase the level of joy, happiness, contentment, all of these things? And what kind of infrastructure can we build around that? Because Jesus, if we're just waking up to a reactive world, then who are we? We're just kind of at the effect of all this other stuff. So, people take it all different ways. But for me, I think I just go, okay, it's like, I think it was Buckminster Fuller. If you create another reality, then the other one becomes obsolete, right? So, but like, how did you, I love what we jumped off this incredible, it was really good. The speech itself was just really good. And it's really just on the nose and beautiful and received well. And, when people hear the truth, they hear the truth. And it's like someone speaking to the elephant of truth in the room too. It's like, there's that incredible synergy that we all have as a human family. Let's back up here.
Yeah.
Like, what was your journey like? How did you end up realizing more of yourself, wanting to share more of your gifts? Because also that's a whole unpacking that I'd love to understand.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. There's a lot of places I could start, in that answer. But what I would say is to tie this into, I think I want people to understand the importance of creativity.
Yeah.
Because with AI right now, we are in a time period where for the very first time, as far as I'm aware, we have the opportunity to fully outsource the creative process from beginning to end. And that is a very dangerous space to be. I am not anti-AI. I actually love what AI opens up for us. However, to utilize it to amplify human creativity is different than outsourcing human creativity. Sure. And to speak about my journey to find my way there, because I grew up thinking I was not creative. I thought my brother and sister were the artistic, creative ones, and I was the logically minded, analytical one. And it really starts, vulnerable share, but it really starts because I was molested at the age of 5, but it was a repressed memory until I was 30. And 30. So I spent 25 years feeling as though there was something off and I couldn't tell what it was. It was just this intrinsic feeling that something was off. And so the story that created in my mind was there's something wrong with me inherently. And I just feel it. I know there's something wrong with me. And that led to all kinds of issues and problems and depression and et cetera. And when that memory finally came back to me, I cried so many tears of joy because it felt as though I was no longer a stranger in my own body. It felt as though I knew myself for the very first time. My life made sense for the very first time.
Wow.
And I'm 41 now. And so it's been over a decade of putting dissecting back to it's like a tree that has rotten roots going all the way back and pulling out all the rot, the way it affected my relationship to women, to men, to money, to safety on the planet, why I moved through the world always worried that something bad was going to happen. All of this stuff made sense, and having to reprogram and rewrite. And what is creativity? Creativity is the process of putting together patterns that you've never put together before. It's my definition. When I'm writing a poem, it's just patterns of words that I've never put together before. A musician, it's patterns of sounds you've never put together before. It's a painter, it's patterns of colors and shapes and textures they've never put together before. And what is personal development? What is personal growth? What is being conscious? It is actually just the process of going, okay, what are the patterns that led me to do the thing I'm doing now or feel the way I'm feeling now? And the data points are not sounds and textures and colors. The data points are emotions, thoughts, actions, and events. And you put those patterns together and you go, oh my gosh, this is why I have intimacy issues in relationship because of blank, 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 blank. And so the process by which we evolve as conscious beings is a creative process. And therefore, creativity is a skill that you can get better at. And so every poem I write is not just about the poem. I'm developing the very skill that will allow me to spot the patterns within myself and in the world that allow me to evolve with more grace and more ease. And so that journey of creativity and understanding the power of it was one of suicidal depression, intense breakups, uncovering sexual abuse, and along the way, leaning into the creative process and very specifically filmmaking, acting, and poetry as avenues for me to figure myself out and release the pressure of all the emotion that was getting unveiled.
Wow. That's huge. I love that in the context of our life and who we are inherently creative. And like what pieces do we want to put out or create from within to express these different things? I'm curious also how did this if you want, how did this reveal itself?
It was initially two back-to-back nights of ayahuasca.
She will do that.
So that was the initial, and then various aspects of it for the next several years. Yeah. Some plant medicines like iboga.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I've done a few iboga journeys. Only one ibogaine specifically, but so iboga journeys, and then some deep therapy work that had no medicine involved.
Right, you got to do the work after that. So I'm curious, just like out of my own curiosity, what was your experience between ayahuasca and iboga or ibogaine?
Very different. They're very different. I don't know how much plant medicine experience you have.
First ayahuasca was 99.
Okay. Oh, you early. OG ayahuasca.
Yeah. That was, we did it. It was 98, 99, and we did it at the coming out of it on the eve of 2000.
Oh, Y2K.
Whether we were going to have lights on. And we're all like, we might as well go this route because we're going to be good. And our lights still turned on. So So that was the start. Dabble with a little microdose, but not interested in not doing it under very clear
Right.
an outro. The work outside of that is very, very important. But that aside, what was that like for you? I haven't done ibogaine or any of that stuff.
Yeah, so I would consider myself at least an ex-psychonaut. Did a lot of exploration, and I always felt more at home in medicine spaces than I did outside of them. It felt like coming home. It felt as though that was the only place I'd ever really felt safe or felt connected to God. It was very interesting. And so I was very drawn to it, and I wondered if I was going to walk a shamanistic path and go. And I've done a couple dietas down in Peru and spent a couple weeks with, 4 hours down the Amazon River and the little villages sitting ayahuasca and stuff. And what I would say is that iboga to me, I mean, there's phases of it, but it really feels like a 48 to 72 hour journey. I mean, it really, it's not until you fall asleep a second time that you kind of start to feel normal. And the way that I would describe it is that ayahuasca feels like I'm going and having a meeting, a conversation, an experience with this spirit of ayahuasca, which most people feel as being a very feminine spirit. They say it's grandmother medicine. And I have very direct conversations, and it is a back and forth of an experience for me. And then with iboga, it feels as though you suddenly are standing at a translucent, shimmery veil between you and the spirit world. You're right there. I mean, it's right there. And iboga is one of the few that you can actually die while taking. And so my understanding is that in Gabon, Africa, they often use it to speak to the dead. And so it's as if you're in this spirit realm in such a way. But what that also does is the timelines get a little confusing. Like what is in ayahuasca, I often leave with, this is what to do. Here's the action I'm going to take. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, that's how it applies. This is the conversation I get to have. This is the direction I want. And iboga, the best advice I got was from the facilitator who said to me, ayahuasca, you might leave with lessons and some very clear action steps. Iboga, try not to make too much sense of it right away. Just look back in 6 months and your life's going to be entirely different. And I would say both times that I went and did it, that was very true for me. My life looked drastically different 6 months after.
Wow. Yeah, it's pretty intense when you go, people can die. So the facilitation has to be, and there's a lot of legislation actually trying to get legalization of iboga right now in the States. And
I hope they do, man. There's a lot of documentaries now about people with PTSD and veterans that are using it. And
literally rewires, like wipes out that whole network.
Right.
Yeah.
And then opiate addiction, it's far more effective for treating addiction. But you would know even better than me, just the speed at which there's actual legalized studies being allowed and legalization of things that are proven effective and yet at the same time harder to monetize. It's a very slow process.
Yeah, these things need to be, because all of it can be quickly a negative process if they're not facilitated correctly. That just goes, and that's the thing that I have seen for the last 25 years, just like, whoa, that just doesn't feel safe, or people have been flinging themselves in the middle. I've had people come to me and go, just wait a second, let me do some digging and find facilitators.
Well, I have a question for you around this, because where my brain goes is, so right now in the world of sort of ayahuasca, right? On any given night, it's happening in practically every major city in the United States. It's all over the place now, and it's still illegal. So it's underground, and you have a lot of unsafe situations. And even if the medicine itself won't cause you to necessarily die, I don't think people realize on an energetic and spiritual level the dangers of opening yourself up to these other realms in unsafe containers with faux shamans that are not able to navigate that space. It's you can pick up things that will lead to mental illness and psychotic breaks. Like it is important for you to be with the right facilitators. Now, do you think legalization actually would help? Because I also look at how some of the things that we want to get legalized, like the label organic or whatever, has this whole other element that's not necessarily improving things. So I'm just curious.
This is a great question. I don't necessarily, because what does legalization mean? Standards, safety, but we're also getting to this other area where I do agree with you from a facilitator standpoint. It's not an academic facilitation. It's an energetic, deeply understood, potentially generational understanding of what this plant is or plants. And I can tell you quickly, we don't have to get fully into it, but probably my third or fourth time way back then, I had a break. And it was a month of the most beautiful and the hellish experience of my life.
Wow.
Because I'm looking for that facilitator for help, and they had no idea what to do. And so I was walking in the world going, like if we were sitting here, I was like a zombie. You wouldn't even have to be aware of anything. You could be a normal person, go, something's wrong with that guy. Right? And but I'm receiving all this information. I'm seeing stuff. I'm hearing stuff. I'm like, and it's not shutting off.
Right.
And it felt like at the time I didn't have the skills to navigate that incredible world that was like maybe an ode to Carlos Castaneda's work or something like that, where I'm like, so it was scary as shit on the one hand, but also like, holy cow, this is. So I really had a huge, and I healed from it, but I walked away going, whoa, that facilitation is potentially the most important. And that container that's held. So, I don't know. Yeah. I know when other hands get into it and the kind of the left brain, let's try to, I don't know if that works. I'm not sure. But at the same time, you have microdosing, you have other ways of using the molecule without potentially opening up to other entities. And like, I saw a lot of stuff. Like I was like, oh, you got a thing on your knee, and you got a thing. Like I was seeing all kinds of stuff. And so I don't know. I think yes, a regulation of some sort needs to happen, but I kind of think it needs to be indigenously focused. It needs to be, worked together with like the true kind of healers who know more about it than all of us combined. Right. It needs to be facilitated from that perspective, not taken on as a Western, fully regulated system. It needs to be done together. So whatever that looks like, I think. Yeah. But anyway, that's, and I'm also like, I have a part of me that I'm like, we do have it all inside of us. And so since then, I've kind of like, I don't need any of that plant medicine because that would fuck me up too much. And I can open up doors pretty easily in my own work. Since then, through breathing and meditation and stuff like that, if I just trust and if I just let it happen, I can, I do little self-hypnotic things every day.
Is that intuitive for you, or did you, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's, I just start trusting. It's just trusting, like these things are like, you take ayahuasca, you take these things, again, I haven't done Ibogaine, but once you do that, it's opening a door and there's no going back. And at the same time, like I've had some incredible journeys just through an hour, 2 hours of breath work.
Right.
It's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, see all those ancestors. What are you guys doing? And all kinds of stuff. But anyway, there's a lot there. Clearly, there's a lot to plant medicine, and I think it's a powerful tool when done correctly.
Yeah, it's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah.
I guess a follow-up question I have for you is you've been around with your shows. I just saw something. You just got something new greenlit, right?
Yeah. So we snuck out a little thing at Sundance.
Yeah. Okay.
Called The Roadmap to Happiness.
Amazing.
So I've been filming we've been working on it for 2.5 years. And we filmed about half of it. We have half of it to go. And there was just an opportunity to be at Sundance and reveal that.
And that's a project with a lot of different celebrities.
Yeah.
And so you've been around a lot of these celebrities and things. And a question that I had for you, because you just talked about sort of the intuitive opening of doors and the things, and you, when you spoke about Kenya,
yeah,
and how you saw something, you said, "I'm changing this.
Yeah,
I'm doing something about this," and you made it happen.
Yeah,
I think most people, they're listening, watching you and your career and going, you're someone who makes shit happen. You see it and you just make shit happen.
Totally.
And I'm curious if that's something that you see as a superpower of yours, if it's something that you've trained, because there are people watching and listening to this that are going, wait, you just open these doors energetically and you like make it happen. And they're going, wait, what does that even mean? But I've been around a lot of high performers and they all have this thing to create the portal and walk through it. And I'm just curious if you've noticed that, if it's something that you see when you're around a lot of people who've reached certain levels of success.
Good question. I love how you're flipping this whole podcast on me, but I think number one, this is a can of worms, but as a kid, I was premature. I almost died at birth. And my father, growing up, I was kind of behind in a lot of things. And so I kind of had to find a way of working and pursuing and overcoming obstacles super early. And so it developed this, okay, it's not this way, figure out a different way, going to work, like working hard.
Yeah.
And from Minnesota, it's like blue collar and, freezing your ass off and shoveling and stuff like that. But so there was this survival side of me that I chose to live. My dad recapitulated this to me in a beautiful way before he passed away, going, I saw the moment you decided to live when you were 3.5 pounds.
Wow.
And he would say, God, he's got it hard. He's got it hard. Like my dad felt bad for me, but every time I would be hit with an obstacle, I'd figure out a way. And so I started developing this, I would say, probably a superpower. It's just, and it, and then it healed a lot of that stuff as I didn't need to come out of survival to do it.
Yeah.
And because I never felt like I was the most optimal person in any situation, that I had to overcome something, it then didn't stop me in pursuing something that I cared about. So my FOMO didn't exist. It still doesn't. I mean, it does to some.
Because if you want to, you do.
Yeah, just in some degree. It's like I never studied film, not 1 ounce of studying, and I'd done a bunch of stuff, right? Even not even being aired. I just want more people to see it, and so I think it's just, and it continues to this day. You know, Down to Earth fell away, and it kind of imploded for a million reasons. But like the desire of great people doing great things, wanting to show the world of hope and possibility and solutions, and like it wasn't done. So this was stirring in me. So one of my producers from Down to Earth, we hooked up and said, we got to go. And he goes, yeah, you got to go. We have to do this. So that's what we've been working on, this whole new series with this huge aperture of happiness with all these pillars. And I just, every time I feel like not enough about it, I just end up doing it. And then I think the internal work has been something that, without fail, you know, for the last 30 years, I sit quietly, I listen, I let it, just like a journey. You know, when you're in a journey, you have to surrender. And you surrender to a place inside of yourself that's more obvious when you're in a journey, less obvious when you're in the normal consciousness. But I just keep working that muscle. I keep going on a feeling and let it guide me. And it's as strong as, you know, it feels strong.
Because you're in that, the silence and stillness every day. It's a practice for you for 30 years. Every day. Is it a style of meditation that you do, or is it more
I've followed many, and now I just do my thing. I listen to some this company called A New Calm, who's got this. It's beyond binaural beats, but it puts my brain into a gamma state, and in that place, it just kind of easier for me to just, it calms the body down, and then coming out of that, I either stream of consciousness journeying, or I'll go in and just start visualizing. I'll scan my body, I'll focus on maybe something I'm working on, and then I do this little, I don't know, I just made it up because it came to me, and I do this little self-hypnosis. Where I walk up on these stairs into my consciousness. I literally see my hand opening the door, and then I meet my higher self. And then I start asking him questions, and then he goes back into this glowing library, and he starts pulling out books of what I want to focus on. It's trippy.
Wow.
I've never said that publicly before, but
well, thanks for sharing.
That's something I do. So
that's what I do when I'm interviewing people on my podcast. No, just kidding.
Exactly. We have a new host of SuperLife
We've
today.
We've switched. Something's happened.
So, yeah. So anyway, but because you care about it is why we're talking about it, and you're a facilitator, and you also have done a bunch of that work, and I think, you know, maybe someone takes something away from what I said. I didn't give a lot of detail, but I think the important thing is listening and eliminating static between you and the creator, you and the truth.
Yeah. So I spent my New Year's this year in a darkness retreat.
We did.
Yeah. So I did, the retreat was 8 days, and it was 5 full days in the dark. Wow. So for people who aren't familiar, literally in a room that's completely blacked out, they bring you food. They put it through like this one-way thing, so there's no light that gets in. But outside of the time, they drop off the food once a day and ask and make sure you're okay. You are in complete darkness. So I spent 5 full complete days in complete pitch black stillness, darkness, etc.
Wow.
And I went in 2025. I came out in 2026. Wow. And I had this thing because for maybe 7-8 8 more years, I've been fully nomadic, and I travel with a little altar. So just some sacred items to me, a candle, and every night I sit and pray and have my practices. I meditate every morning. And in November of last year, I stopped. And I've just been going through a complete identity deconstruction and sort of going, okay, what's here? Who do I want to be moving forward? What do I really believe in? I see what's happening on the planet right now, and I feel as though everything that we used to have trust in, no one trusts anymore, and everything's destabilized. So people are searching for meaning. There's a revival of the church as people go, wow, this is stable. And there's a lot that's happening. And I think that for those sensitive to it, they're being asked to find out within ourselves, what are our pillars? What do we stand on individually? And so I thought, well, let me go into the dark and strip everything away, where it's just me, just what's up here happening in my head. And I'd stopped praying, and I'd stopped sitting at my altar every day. And it's not because I'd stopped believing in God, but it was sort of what is my faith now? What is the version 3.0, 5.0 of this? And I had this very interesting experience where in that stillness, there's obviously the mind, there's the thoughts, but then suddenly after a while, the thoughts become different. There's a different texture to them. There's the voice, it's still my voice, but it's a voice of, it's like a whisper, and it lands in a different place in my body and in my brain. And I remember having this thought at a certain point, and I go, what if that voice is God? And I went, well, why would my voice sound like me? And then I went, why would it sound like anyone else? And then I had this amazing thought where I went, wait a second. This voice, the omnipresent, has always been there. I've never been without, has never abandoned me. That voice, that's separate than the thoughts, that deeper voice, how do I even know that's my voice? If it is, how do I know? It might sound exactly the same to you, because it's the voice of God, but it's always been with you. So you've just thought it's your own voice. Right. And it's always been with me. So I've always thought it's my own voice, but we're hearing that voice when we get quiet. And so that idea and that concept was a really powerful realization for me of as I re-navigate my relationship to faith and God and all these things. And it became so clear how much static and how much noise there is. And I mean, not even just inputs from the outside, but my reactiveness to those inputs, my desire to pick up the phone and do something because sitting and just being feels uncomfortable. That noise has to be sifted through to get to that voice. And so when I hear you share about your process, I hear someone who has built a relationship with that deeper voice and spends time in that relationship. And I don't know if that's true, but that's how I receive it. And I think that that's an important distinction that I've even deepened for myself as someone who's been in the work a long time, a lot of medicine journeys, all these things. That deeper whisper of a voice has been something that I've been really sitting with a lot more recently.
I love that. And I think that's that is the work in the modern day world, to take a pause from listening to the chaotic mind and then just fumbling around life from that perspective. And I think, the modern world is so distractive that we literally have to put ourselves in a dark cave to relearn the listening that many indigenous people, because we never had this. We're in an unprecedented time. We're creating more noise exponentially every second, that is so distracting from the real truth, the real voice. And I love that you made that distinction. I'm curious, like, after you came out of that, how has that integration been for you? Do you find that the practice of, quote unquote, finding that voice or hearing that voice is easier to grab onto or to hear? Like, what's been your experience now?
I think that I'm in the process of figuring out how to find that voice in the modern world.
Right.
I think that there's so much inertia.
Yeah.
It's like, and you really become aware. Spend 5 days in the dark by yourself and then come back to Los Angeles. Absolutely. And just even the psychic static.
Yeah.
Of all the people and all of the technologies and all of the Wi-Fi and all of this stuff is so palpable. And the honest truth is that most people are dealing with some level of like distortion in their fields and their bodies, whether it's illness physically or whether it's anxiety or whether it, you know what I mean? There's so much fear right now. And we are, so the mystical teachings, the mystery schools will say, maybe call something an aura, but science is proving we have that. What is that thing now? That's the electromagnetic signal that your heart is putting out every single second. And so that tells us that you and I right now, our hearts are sending electromagnetic signals that are interfacing and alchemizing and sending us information about each other with, we don't have to say anything. What do you think happens when you're just walking around a busy city?
Yeah.
You are alchemizing with the electromagnetic signals of everyone around you, which is an amalgamation of how they're feeling, their wounds, their traumas, their hopes, their dreams, how they slept, what they ate, all of that stuff. And I think that right now I'm figuring out how to contribute in a meaningful way that's not just more noise.
Right.
And I've shared online, the first video I ever put out online was in 2013 of me talking to my phone and saying, hey, my name's Adam and I'm learning about this thing. And that was 2013. So I've been doing it for about 13 years and I haven't posted in a month. And that's the first time in 13 years I've gone.
You haven't posted in a month since.
No stories, no posts, no YouTube videos, nothing for a month. And it's wild to observe guilt come up. It's wild to see shame come up or embarrassment. There's a part of me that thinks I should be speaking up. There's so much happening. I should be doing that. And I'm embarrassed that I'm not. Then there's a part that feels guilty as if I have a platform that people are dreaming to have. I have a gift of being able to speak articulately that other people don't. I'm not fulfilling my potential. I'm not utilizing my blessings. So all of this noticing and at the same time, just stopping for a moment. That's the biggest thing coming out of this darkness. I've stayed a lot more still and given myself permission to not feel like I have to, and waiting until I hit that moment where it comes from a purely inspired place. And when it comes from that authentic place, I know it will be meaningful. And right now I feel I don't have, as weird as it sounds, I don't have something that's worth saying. And so I'm sitting back right now. That's what's happened since.
I think, dude, I am so happy that you said that. I mean, and you're holding to something that no one can understand but you. You're holding to a very deep integrity. And in the face of all of this stuff, yeah, we can throw out all kinds of information. But I honor that.
Thank you.
I appreciate that. I have grown to try not to use too many strong words, but I just don't. social media is not safe. And I just personally don't want to put too much personal information out in a certain sense, because I'm like, I like these conversations. I like to build from something else, but I've kind of peeled off and like try to create a community over here where there's more of a opportunity to share openly, without having some bot that is not even a person like commenting.
I know, right? And then you read that one thing and it just derails you, and it's just like, I don't think people understand that a comment from a stranger. I've been in this. I've taken arrows for over a decade, and there will still be a comment that comes through and sticks with me, and go, wow, and it hits that wound of feeling like there's something off about me, something wrong with me from my childhood wounding, and going, damn it, you got me. Yeah. Well done. You got in here. I let you in. Damn it. Yeah. And I agree with you. I think that to open up vulnerably in unsafe spaces is how we cause trauma.
Sure.
And so the most important thing for us to do is find the safe spaces where we can be authentic and be vulnerable, because we have to have these conversations. Yeah. We have to be able to talk about what is happening. And I told you I listened to you on Rich Roll's podcast. And one of the things you said is, I wrote this book and I'm saying these things because I just want people to be talking about it.
Yeah.
Let's not put our head in the sand. Let's just talk about it. And it's so challenging to talk about it because you could say anything and people are going to attack you from one side to the next, or both sides. If you try one side, the other side's attacking you. If you try and be in the middle, both sides are attacking you. It's a really challenging time. And so I love that, to hear that you're creating these spaces where it's safe to have those conversations.
Yeah. It's like, if you struggle with alcohol, an unsafe place is to go into a bar, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, if we realize some of these platforms are unsafe, and I have a lot to say about whatever, why would we put ourselves in the middle of a unsafe community? Mm-hmm. So it's it's that, and I agree. Like, oh my God, I should be posting. I should, I am not living from should. Mm-hmm. And I think if everyone kind of took a little heed of that information and what we just talked about right now, and I need to do it because of this and da. Every time I love my team, but sometimes when they well, you do this and you break the algorithm, and I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Right? It's I am also working here. I'm working from here, and from that perspective backwards, not from trying to figure out the algorithms to somewhere else. That's just not how I work. Crazy Love.
Yeah.
What's that? What's that new book?
Yeah, so Crazy Love
Venture.
is my book coming out in May. It is a collection of poems and actual real journal entries.
Oh, wow.
All around the arc of love and relationship.
Wow.
And I mean, journal entries I never thought I would ever be sharing with anyone, let alone the entire world.
That's vulnerable.
I mean, journal entries when I was contemplating suicide. Journal entries where I was trying to figure out, is it okay if I slept with a woman when I knew I didn't want anything more? Right. Is that okay? I don't actually know. I communicated it, but I still feel bad. And so I'm not cool. I'm figuring it out. It's messy. It's ugly. It's painful, but it's aligned with everything that we're talking about, where I've, even though what's gone viral for me has been my poetry, and that's a big part of why I get invited to do keynote speeches and things like that, my business has been primarily coaching. Mm-hmm. So one-on-one coaching, group programs and masterminds and that sort of thing. And I felt so less called to telling people how to live their life. I feel so less called to like, here are the ways in which you can accomplish blah, 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 blah. It's not that I don't still have opinions about it, but there's a million other people that are telling you that stuff, you know, there's a lot of people telling you how to live your life these days, you know? And so the book also for me is, I'm not trying to tell you anything. I'm not saying here's how to do anything. I'm saying here's all the ways that I have tripped and fallen and my heart's been shattered and I've tried to figure it out the most real, authentic, raw way I can show it, which is my private journals and my poetry and my art. And hopefully in there, you'll see something of value for yourself. You'll see yourself woven in some of those inquiries. You'll feel your own heartbreak and see the way that I was able to start piecing myself back together, and it'll give you the next key in your journey. And I'm interested in letting my real authentic experience speak for itself and let people fill in the blanks. And that's why I'm excited really for this book to come out, because it's in alignment with this new, like, it's not a self-help book in that traditional sense. It is a self-revelation book for you to find yourself reflected back.
Wow. I mean, there's so much that I think about when you said that, because it's the antithesis of social media, because we're trying to be perfect and do the perfect thing and all that stuff. But the thing that I initially feel when you say that is we're all trying to figure this out. We're all messy. We're all the same in that sense. You know, this is, having a human experience is not easy, you know, and trying to find ourselves through the mess is the opportunity. So to vulnerably share, I didn't think I could read my journal entries because they're all scratchy. But
bro, to write the book, I flew to Spain with a box that I shipped of all the journals I've kept since 2007. And I just started chronologically reading through them and post-it noting things and whatever, trying to figure out how I wanted to compile this. And I read through every journal multiple times. And it was like reading a really long book and you're sick of the main character after page 1. Like that was it.
You're like, God, what a miserable.
Bro, I was like, what a miserable, whiny little bitch. Oh my gosh, I have to listen to this guy for the next decade. And so, and the wild thing was that I was journaling about the same topics, fears, and insecurities in 2007 as 2020. Right. And it was so powerful because the way that the book is structured is this arc of dream love, like the idealized love and the desire for it and the longing for it. And then not quite love, the section where I'm like, I wish it was you, but it's not. And I know it's not. And then the scary love, because you meet the person, you know it's something. And the first thing that happens is suddenly your fears start arising. And then it's the beautiful love, but then it's the painful love where you see it starting to crack and you're trying to hold it together and then it breaks and you have to put yourself back together. And it's this arc. It's multiple relationships, but it reads like one relationship because that's what I realized when I was going through it. I'm caught in these loops. I'm caught in the same cycles. And then when I see everyone else around me, I'm going, so are they. Right. And then I went, actually, that's just love. That's crazy love.
Crazy love.
That is the craziness of love. It is this innate thing, like you were talking about climbing the stairs and you're meeting there's a feeling in us and we are being drawn to that thing. And it looks different for everyone, but it is love. Even if it's not a person, it can be a place, a thing, a dream. And it is love that is pulling us forward. And as we approach it, we all start to have our fears and our insecurities and our doubts come up. And then it's going to die at some point. You know, even if you spend your life together with that person, you are going to have so many iterations of who you are and what your relationship is. My parents just celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. Wow. There are so many versions of them that they've been through. And they lost everything in 2008 when the bubble burst. And my dad at 60 years old, having been a property owner now, has to start delivering packages. It broke my heart to see my father in his 60s delivering packages because he rolled the dice and lost in a lot of ways. And in their 60s, they had to figure out a new version of their marriage and who they are now and what their future looked like. And so that cycle is constant, and I got to see it myself over and over and over again. And it was very helpful because now I can be in the grace of even where I'm at right now of going, I don't know what's next, man. I have stuff to say in these environments, but I also, like you guys listening to this, if you don't want to take a single thing that I'm saying to heart, okay, great. I have no reason to convince anybody of anything. Right. But I also think that if we're real and if we're authentic, truly, and I mean the vulnerable, the embarrassing, the ugly, the whatever, the parts that most people try and hide, if we let that be seen, I think that is the single most important thing that we can do, because nobody's got this shit figured out. Nobody.
Right. And if you think they do, that's the dupe, right? It's the guru thing.
And that's what social media would have you believe. Yeah. Like, just do these 3 things. Have your morning routine be exactly this. And like, here's the framework of a date night that will re-inspire your relationship. Right. And it's like the algorithm is feeding you things to believe that there's an algorithm to how to solve anything. And it's so much more complex than that.
Yeah. My first thought is, okay, so what are the takeaways today of this conversation? Listen, I think I get so much courage from that's the word that sticks out for me with you. And it is it's not easy to dive into all of the infallibilities, all of the insecurities, all of the unlovable places. But God, that had to be an incredible therapy session, putting that together, to be able to, instead of having a counselor that you go to every year and then hopefully they start reflecting things back to you, but you actually started reflecting yourself back to you, and you're going, oh my God, look at this loop. Look at this same story. Look at this. Like, what was because that's its own journey. It's almost like took you longer than ayahuasca, but ayahuasca can walk you through, any one of these plant medicines walk you through that shit pretty quick too, right? But you did it in reading your old journal entries. Like, did you feel like going through that there was this huge, I guess, breakthrough or relief or release?
100%. Yeah. It gave me the awareness.
Yeah.
And a lot of people confuse awareness for change.
Right.
They go to the ayahuasca ceremony or the personal development, Tony Robbins seminar or whatever it is, and they become aware of why they might have done something or aware of their behavior pattern, and they think that they're changed.
Right.
And they're not changed. Awareness gives us choice. And then making new choices is how we change. And so becoming aware of these loops in such a clear way that was undeniable, and seeing it be 12 years of my life, it's the same loops, gave me the opportunity to opt out and say, I'm done with that pattern. I'm done with it.
Right.
And 2 weeks after completing my time in Spain and having finished the draft of the book and making that decision, I met my now partner. We've been dating for more than a year, and the healthiest relationship I've ever been in, really. And so I do know something shifted.
Yeah, your field. You go back to the field that you're in. Mm-hmm. Your field changes. You can take in other things because you're not attracting all of that other shit.
Absolutely, 100%. And so I think that is the power of art, again, coming kind of full circle, is when we create, we're creating from our current consciousness, right? And it becomes this time capsule. And so that was actually been one of the biggest struggles of the book for me, has been, I'm not that person anymore.
Right.
And yet here it is.
Right.
And, I'm doing poems from it again, and I'm going like, I'm not there anymore.
Yeah.
And some of them I go, wow, there was so much depth and wisdom in that I didn't even fully understand when it came through me. And then there's other ones where I go, wow, that's a lot of victim consciousness wrapped in there that I didn't realize at the time. And it's just amazing, these time capsules. And I encourage people to, whether it's journal entries, whether it's artistic creations, to look back. They say if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it, right? Well, what about our personal history? Right. That's so applied to this almost on a national, international level, the Roman Empire. Okay, what about just Adam Roa? Right. What about my own personal history? Right. I'm going to keep repeating the patterns until I learn from them and make new choices and opt out and more intentionally choose who I want to be.
It begs to illuminate this idea that not that out there or the world isn't doing anything wrong or it's doing anything good per se, but when it triggers, you said it earlier, when it triggers back at your own pain, we sometimes miss these opportunities of our own healing and then go, well, change that. If that person wouldn't have done that or needs to do that, and then it becomes this missed opportunity, and it becomes an outward, like, change it and I'll be better. Right. If you didn't do that, I wouldn't be in pain in a closer relationship. It's and I love that you went through this arc of all of these journals and then also saw from a different perspective going, wow, there's the opportunity, but I was looping for 5 years, 7 years of the same thing. But yet there was this pin that if I would have saw it then, I could have pulled it and things would have changed. Mm-hmm. And it's not easy to do in the moment. But every time, like, how am I feeling with what's going on in any part of my life? Those are access points of the healing, of the possibility, of the reflection. And that's where I think opportunity is always trying to get us back home to ourselves, and it's a constant vigilance on our own. So what do you think for you now, kind of moving forward? How do you, as life happens and you're going to go out this door and traffic and people are going to call you and people are going to be bummed out or whatever happens. Yeah. And then you said it too, that you're trying to move in life with that muscle of accessing that deeper voice that you got in the darkness. What are some of the things that are helping you listen from that place and take alternative choices?
I think, not to sound like a broken record, but my art, my creative practices, writing poetry is a big one. And then also allowing myself permission to do things that don't seem to serve a purpose. You know what I mean? Like,
how so?
I've gotten back into reading fantasy novels. I love wizards and warriors and that kind of stuff. I love it. And so I've started to read those again after years of only reading personal development books or that sort of thing. Or
it's never fiction. It's only nonfiction.
Right. Or watching shows like Peaky Blinders. I heard that's great. So I started watching Peaky Blinders and allowing myself that instead of only documentaries and things that I could justify as somehow furthering something. And so giving myself space again to play, to be a nerd. I've got into playing Magic the Gathering, the card game, wizards and things I used to play when I was a kid. I went, what do I remember? In that inquiry, what did I remember doing as a kid? I used to play Magic Gathering. Okay, let me get into Magic Gathering. And then ideas start popping up from that, right? Like I also used to be a Dungeons and Dragons nerd. I loved playing Dungeons and Dragons with my friend. And I started thinking, wouldn't it be cool to lead a Dungeons and Dragons like group that's personal development based? So as you're playing the game, you're actually working on like owning your voice or courage or whatever. You could find a way to do that. And I notice that these things that I had judged as not being productive
or not spiritual
or not whatever, I'm giving myself more permission. And I don't know if that's modality, but it feels like a practice for me right now because I come from an athletic background. I was a wrestler and just discipline is not hard for me. Relaxing and not making it so military strict, that's harder for me. To feel like I could just allow myself to play video games for a couple hours, hard. Right? Doing 8 Zoom calls on a single day because I'm moving something forward, that wasn't hard for me. So I guess I'm finding balance by moving in this other direction and being more gentle, more soft, more patient. And then following curiosity is the piece. I believe that life is a soul scavenger hunt. I believe that the clues that are left for us are left through love, curiosity, and inspiration. And that's how God guides us. What is that thing that you've always been curious about? And that thing, that pottery making class, like I'm going to take that thing. It may have nothing to do, it doesn't have to become a career. So many people are not following curiosity because they don't know how they're going to make money from it or how it's going to lead to something. For all you know, that pottery class is just where you meet your future wife. Right? Or maybe you make a friend who recommends this thing, or maybe pottery leads to resin paintings and who knows? But I'm really wanting to allow myself more grace. And that's my current practice, that and writing poetry still.
I love that. And it's like, that's personal to you. And it's someone listening, maybe they slack off too much and they need
cold plunges and saunas and they need
some discipline
to tan their butthole.
Yeah,
totally.
Exactly. Not too long.
Not too
long. That peel is really bad. But you know, that again, that's listening to what it's having enough awareness over yourself, and then almost being your own practitioner of what's good for you. And again, instead of looking out there at someone else going, they have this success and so I should listen to them. Nothing wrong with that. But going through the awareness of what's going on inside of you and understanding you. And I like that you it seems as though you've really spent the time seeing what Adam's architecture is or was, so that you can go, well, what's working, what isn't, and then how about allow for grace and play and pursuing things, and that's what you need.
I mean, do you ever hit burnout?
Hell yeah!
I was gonna say you do so much, man.
Yeah. I'm in a similar place where push is like really easy, to the point where I'm like, I am toast. And 2025 was tons of physical pain, tons of stuff like that, where I literally couldn't do it anymore. So I literally couldn't do it anymore. And then I had to fully surrender. And now it's a level of, wow, what if you don't have to push? What if it's a level of presence you could be and in yourself and back to attraction rather than pushing?
What year did that shift for you?
2025 was.
Oh, so last year
was
push.
Just, yeah, it was, well, it's been pushed the entire time, but
right. Was the breaking point.
It was like operating system is tapped.
And so at what point that this conscious decision, I want to go back into magnetism, is how
probably
recent?
Only in the last 2 to 3 months.
Okay. So
Yeah.
similar to me.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very interesting.
It was like, I had no other choice. And it was from the pain, old injuries, like nothing worked. I couldn't kind of finagle around them and then keep going.
Yeah.
Like all my tricks didn't work.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, I'm tapped. And so I went in, I started investigating super, super, super pain. And then going, oh, where have I felt that before? And like fucking took me all the way back to birth.
Wow.
And I was like, holy shit. And I still go back and birth myself. Literally. I'm rebirthing because there was a lot of trauma that was imposed when they thought this kid was going to be dead.
Right.
Right. So I'm literally just recapitulating the whole thing every day.
Wow.
Even this morning, like just going, oh, what would it be like to actually be on my mom's chest rather than stuck in an incubation cube and not have contact with my mom for 3 weeks. That was how I started.
Wow.
And we know that you can die that way. And I almost did. So I was like, holy shit. And I was like, well, I can actually change that. My nervous system immediately changed. The first time I did that and I just let myself visualize it, my body just went. And ever since then, it's just been changing. And so it's like that energy I've been carrying for my entire life. Do it, go, I'll be better. I'll be, all that's being rewritten.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Super important. And it sounds similar to what I was saying before of we're being asked to, like, you're stripping back to birth.
Yeah.
Really stripping back. I went to the darkness, like the womb,
Yeah.
of just strip it all away.
Yeah, exactly.
Strip it all away.
Yeah.
And see, who do I want to be? What are my values? What do I want for my life? These sorts of questions, because we are collectively renegotiating what society is right now. And if we're not intentional about that design, someone else is going to decide it for us.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful opportunity. Not easy, but actually it might be easy. It's just the pain that you have to look at, that like I was fucking holding. I didn't realize, like, I'm 55 years old. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how the fuck am I still holding on to that? It's like part of you like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I don't want to do this.
Right. It's like, does it ever end? Just
Yeah,
another thing?
Yeah, but
and the answer is no, it doesn't ever end.
No, it doesn't. But the relief, the breath, the new operating, like, oh my God, it's a new operating system. Thank God. Well, brother, I feel like we can talk forever.
Yeah, it's been a great conversation.
And Crazy Love comes out in May. People, I think everyone will relate.
Yeah. And I would love to leave you with a poem.
Oh my God, please.
One I don't think you've heard probably.
Okay, please.
But this one specifically I wanted to do for you because your work, I'll let the art speak for itself, but this one's for you and everyone listening. And this piece is called Heaven. Everyone take a nice deep inhale and exhale. The most impactful thing you can do for the world is learn how to love life. All of life. Show people that being happy doesn't mean turning a blind eye to the pain and the sadness and the suffering that happens here. Show them that choosing love doesn't mean ignoring fear. It just means being willing to feel. And those brave souls will always heal as long as they maintain the courage to feel. Because the fear of feeling's really at the root of every fear, which creates a fear of living because feeling's why we're here. So you can fight the fact that feelings past have felt so freaking hard, but it's the very fact you have felt all that feels like the part we should celebrate. Investigate. Learn to navigate with ease. Your emotions are the gift God gives you every time you breathe. Energy in motion with the strength to bring a king down to his knees, and yet contained within emotion is the key to set you free. Yes, contained within emotion is the gift of what being human is, a chance to feel all of life from deep sorrow to deep bliss. And you might wish the two would split, but the twist is that they'll always coexist because even the heartbreak you hate today had the way paved by a lover's kiss. So you can write your list of how life's a bitch, but don't forget the asterisk because for all the times you went through shit, it fertilized a lot of gifts. But if you only focus on what you lack, you can't appreciate what you've got. But with gratitude for what you have, you can see that it's a lot. And that is the difference between abundance and scarcity. It's not about what you have, it's about what you see. So the next time you forget how blessed you be, take a moment and focus on the next breath you breathe. The next time you forget how blessed you be, take a moment and focus on the next breath you breathe. And notice, you're right here with me. A miracle, a great mystery. Out of hundreds of trillions of stars and hundreds of billions of galaxies, somehow, some way you're here today with me and we all breathe on a spinning sphere of chemicals spiraling through the universe. You were once one of 200 million sperm. You just happened to get there first. So how could you ever say you're cursed? You've been blessed since before your birth, and you might not think you have it best, but it could definitely be worse. And if you don't believe that yet, go tell the deaf what you just heard. If you don't like what you see, go tell the blind how much it hurts. On your hardest day, when you really want to walk away, go tell the paraplegic how it's unfair. Share how you want to run from all your problems while he's pushed everywhere in a chair. And I'm not saying that life is fair or that it's easy. We all go through a lot, but as you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, don't lose gratitude for the fact that you walk. Celebrate the fact that you can dance and sing. Embrace the abundance in the very act when you talk. Because when you can spot abundance in the simplest things, that's when more abundance unlocks. The simplest things. Taste and touch and breath and smell. Did you know there are people with something called anosmia, which means their sense of smell is completely lost? So while they literally can't smell the roses, do you want to complain you don't have the time to stop? Because this life is the only one that you've got. And there are people who would trade places with you without a second thought. So no matter how many tears, heartbreaks, or bad days you pay, the cemetery is full of souls that know living is worth the cost. Don't wait till it's too late to learn that lesson. Living is worth the cost. But make no mistake, being alive is not the same thing as living. Just like throwing something away is not the same thing as giving. So if you haven't yet found your love of life, I suggest you keep on digging and allow yourself to feel your way through all the hurt and all the rage. And as you feel, allow yourself to finally turn the page. That's how we heal. And it might hurt like hell, but you'll have shown us we'll be okay to feel it all and still love life. That's heaven. And you'll have helped pave the way. That's heaven. Can you feel it? Heaven is here today.
Thank you, brother.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me, man. Thank you for all the work that you do. It's really inspiring and it's very much needed and appreciated.
It's only just begun. Thank you.
Thank you.